Hello and welcome to the Career Compass program, which includes online learning sessions, podcasts, videos, webinars, white papers, and whiteboard videos, all specifically designed for NAVFAC. Please check the Career Compass Resource Center or CCRC often for updates and new content to support your learning. This content will assist with learning and development within the 20 non-technical competencies outlined in the Workforce Development Strategy. Today's topic is coaching through conflict in support of the conflict management competency. Throughout this video, you will see a paper-pencil icon on some slides indicating a workbook activity. When you see this icon on the top left corner, this means I'll be asking you to write something in your workbook or refer to your workbook. If possible, download the workbook from the Career Compass Resource Center or CCRC before continuing with this course. However, if you are not able to, just use any piece of paper and write your thoughts down on that. You can always transfer that to the workbook later. In this video, we will discuss what coaching is in a business setting, preparing for confrontation, active listening, finding common ground, and getting agreement to move forward. The objective of this video is to learn how to create a coaching plan in preparation of engaging in a confrontational conversation. According to an international survey of 5,000 full-time workers in the Americas and Europe on workplace conflict conducted by CPP Incorporated, a global consulting firm, the top 3 sources of workplace conflict are personality clashes and wars of ego, general stress, and workload pressures. In this same survey, when asked about the personal impact of conflict, of the 5,000 people surveyed, 76% reported avoiding colleagues, 57% reported the emotional impact of being demotivated, angry, and frustrated with their roles, 24% had skipped work-related social events like happy hours or celebrations, 12% reported quitting a job because of a conflict, 10% had skipped meetings, and 9% took multiple days off. In the United States, on average, each employee spends 2.8 hours every week dealing with conflict. This is about 1 day a month and translates to roughly 385 million working days a year in the United States alone. For organizations to be successful, leaders must be competent in managing and resolving conflict within their teams and organizations. Pause this video and in your workbook write down your answer to what comes to mind when you think of coaching. Restart the video when you are done. Many of us think of sports when we think of a coach or of someone who took an active interest in helping us to develop our skills and talents in sports or music or in some other area of passion. Our coaches are often people who taught us, challenged us, and pushed us to succeed even when we did not think we could. What they all have in common was they were invested in our success. The term coaching originally meant to travel by coach, a horse-drawn carriage. It was often the transport of the wealthy, so coaching was taking someone of importance from where they are to where they want to be. Today, coaching is a term for guiding someone who is important along their way on a learning journey through focused conversations. There are 2 approaches to engaging in coaching conversations. The first is a directive coaching conversation. In this approach, the coach is directly teaching, giving advice, or directing action. The second is an inquiry coaching conversation. This is a conversation where the coach is focused on asking questions to help the coachee to reflect, identify options for action, break down barriers to enable the application of existing knowledge, and to make a plan for taking action. For directive coaching to work, All four of these elements must be present. 1. The coach is an expert. 2. The coach is able to successfully transfer their knowledge to the coachee. 3. The coachee is interested in and open to learning from the coach. 4. The coachee understands that they need to act on the advice being given. Pause this video and in your workbook write down some situations where you have seen or can imagine directive coaching working. When you are ready, start the video again. Here are some situations where directive coaching is effective. In an emergency situation and you need someone to take immediate action. Onboarding a new employee and helping them to get their forms filled out and to the right places. Supporting someone through new experience. Teaching someone a new skill. Directive coaching is great in these situations, but in conflict, being directive usually does not lead to resolution. With inquiry-based coaching, the process is grounded in curiosity about the other person, and like its name suggests, is focused on questions to help the coachee think through the issue they are working on, rather than giving advice or direction. Through the process of asking questions, barriers can be identified and mitigated, and next steps identified. Inquiry-based coaching is focused on bringing out existing knowledge and strengths, because most people already know what to do. The key is putting what they know into action. When engaging in a conflict or confrontational conversation, being inquisitive about the other person's point of view and trying to understand them helps to build trust and makes finding an effective resolution possible. In order for inquiry-based coaching to be successful, there are two elements that need to be present. First, the coachee must have existing knowledge or skills around what they want to accomplish, or have the ability to gain that knowledge. Second, the coach believes that everyone is capable of performing at a higher level, regardless of where they currently are. When coaching through a conflict, inquiry-based coaching is focused on understanding the other person's point of view and finding common ground to move forward. In this conversation, the coach must believe that everyone has a valid perspective. Conflict can be difficult to deal with, but when leaders proactively engage in coaching conversations, the experience can build trust and help the employee to move forward. Let's talk more about conflict. Pause this video and in your workbook answer the question, what feelings or emotions come up for you when thinking about conflict? When you are ready, restart the video. Conflict arouses many emotions in us: fear, anger, excitement, amusement, and concern, to name a few. It is the emotional aspect of conflict that makes many of us uncomfortable, especially at work. However, according to neuroscience research, emotions are part of our unconscious thinking and are hardwired into our limbic system to provoke a decision and action. When we engage in conflict, it is an emotional experience, because if we felt nothing emotionally about the issue, there would be no reaction or conflict. So when we are engaging in a conflict, we want to make sure we are aware of our emotional responses and to not get hijacked by them and make a poor knee-jerk decision that we will later regret. Confrontational conversations are conflicts. When coaching in these situations, the goal is usually to come to an agreement around working together to find a resolution. In these conversations, the stakes are high because of the costs involved with unresolved conflict existing on a team. Emotions are always present in conflict. This can make it hard to focus on the issue itself and not one or the other person getting caught up in our own defensiveness. Conflict can have a lasting impact on the people involved. The good news is, when conflict is coached effectively, problems do get resolved and the lasting impacts are usually greater trust and stronger relationships. Pause the video and in your workbook answer, "How do you prepare for a confrontation?" Restart when you are ready. Confrontation makes most managers uncomfortable, so many try to avoid them, and when they can no longer avoid them, there usually is little in preparation for the conversation. This is exactly the wrong way to handle conflict. Avoiding unnecessary confrontation allows poor behavior or incorrect actions to continue and negatively impact the team. This erodes confidence in the manager and trust in the team. To be more effective in handling confrontation, try these 3 steps. 1. Do your homework. 2. Make a plan. 3. Rehearse. When you need to have a confrontation, take the time to prepare for it. Do your homework. Identify what needs to change or be corrected. Be sure to focus on a behavior or situation and not on the person themselves. This helps to prevent this from becoming a personal attack. Have specific examples ready of the behavior that you are confronting. Have any necessary metrics or reports. How is this impacting them, the team, the command, your customer or mission? Get clear on your goal for the conversation. Identify possible options if this does not get resolved. The purpose of a coaching conversation is to identify actions to take in order to make progress. In a conflict, if you are unsuccessful in finding a way to move forward together, you need to identify all the options you have to move forward on your own. Once you have a list of possible options, select one and identify what the first step is that you would have to take and when you will take it. Make a plan. In your workbook, you will find a template of a form to help you with this. It is important to know that this is not a script for your conversation. It is meant to help you create an opening statement that should be no longer than 60 seconds. This plan will help you to clarify your message and give you a chance to think through the entire situation before engaging with the other person. It is easier when you do your thinking up front and not try to do it spur of the moment. Your plan should include the following. What is your goal for this conversation? Are you expecting resolution, behavior change, or a willingness to work together moving forward on this issue? Clearly identify what needs to change or be corrected. How do you see this situation from your perspective? Remember to make this about a behavior or action, not about them as a person. Focus on what can be seen or heard. Think about what can be captured on video. Do not focus on invisible motivations. Provide specific examples of the behavior or data to support what you are seeing as well as its impact. Why is this issue important to you? How does this impact you, the team, them as an employee? Are there any potential consequences that they may not be aware of to the customer or mission? How might you have contributed to this conflict? This may seem a bit counterintuitive, but it does take 2 to tango, so own your part of this conflict. This will show that you are invested in solving this. Share that you do want this resolved. Share what you will do if it is not resolved. Let them know that you have thought about this, and if they are not willing to work with you, then you will have to move forward toward resolution without them. Invite their thoughts. Ask, "Can you help me understand how you see this situation?" Rehearse delivering your opening statement with a trusted colleague, manager, mentor, or a coach. Remember, it should take about 60 seconds. Anything longer will sound like a lecture. Make sure to deliver it as exactly as you intend to say it in the conversation, with the same emotion and tone. Try to make it as real as possible. Get their feedback on how it landed with them. Did they feel attacked? Were you not clear on what the issue is or its impact? Make any adjustments and tweaks until you have it right. Practice this until you know your message by heart, so when you engage in the real conversation, you do not have to think about what you want to say, and you can focus on understanding what the other person is saying. Conflict can be hard to get right, but by taking the inquiry-based coaching approach, it is easier to be more effective in a conflict. Here are some basic skills you need in order to do this. Emotional awareness. Be aware of your own emotional state and keep an eye on theirs. Active listening. Listening to understand what the other person is saying in words and in their nonverbal communication. Finding common ground. If you are going to collaborate, you have to start here no matter how basic that shared understanding might be. Conflict is an emotional experience. Developing your emotional awareness will help keep you from getting swept up by your own emotions and losing your effectiveness in the moment. When preparing, be very honest with yourself and identify all the emotions you have around this issue. When we are experiencing an emotional reaction, our brains will put more energy into making that emotion seen than into resolving the conflict. The interesting thing is, when we acknowledge the presence of an emotion, our brains stop directing energy towards it and we can engage with our higher level thinking. Every emotion has a physical sensation associated with it. Like when you are embarrassed, you may feel your cheeks flush. If angered, you may clench your jaw or make a fist. When nervous, you may feel funny in your stomach or feel your heart drop when you are disappointed. These physical sensations are our signals that we are getting emotionally triggered. Getting to know your triggers helps with preventing getting swept away with emotions. We each have our own emotional triggers, like being lied to, certain topics, having to participate in specific tasks, being put on the spot. Really, anything that provokes or triggers a strong emotional response, which usually prevents us from acting in a rational way. When we know what triggers us, we can pay attention to the physical sensations of our emotions. We can prevent our emotions from taking over. This is what I call getting hooked. When you feel yourself getting triggered rather than taking the hook and going with the emotion, break the cycle by moving, leaning, or stepping back. Take a deep breath to clear your thoughts for a second. If you realize that the emotional charge for either yourself or the other person is preventing you from being effective, then call it out and take a break. Make sure to set a time to reconvene the conversation and give everyone a chance to cool down and collect their thoughts. This is better than letting emotions get the better of either of you. Active listening is a critical skill when engaging in coaching through conflict, because your focus is on the other person and listening to understand where they are coming from, and hopefully finding common ground. Let's walk through this model on active listening. Remember, throughout the conversation, pay attention to any emotions that are present and nonverbal signals being sent by yourself and the other person. There are 4 steps to active listening. The first step is to engage with them, giving them your undivided attention, turning off any possible distracting devices. The second step is to listen to understand what the other person is saying. Do not interrupt, rebut, or argue. If you do not understand something, ask for clarity and let them continue. Your job here is to listen and understand their perspective. Make sure you are paying attention to what they are saying and how they are saying it. Remember to pay attention to any nonverbal cues as well, like facial expressions, eye contact, or eye rolling, postures, gestures, tone, volume, and pace. Do not interrupt and listen to understand what they are trying to convey. The third step is to paraphrase back what you hear, and do not editorialize with either words of tone or sarcasm. Your job is to provide an honest report of what you understood them saying. Confirm that you got it right and ask if there is more they want to say. Ask if they feel that they have been heard. If they have, then take the fourth step and respond. Remember to pay attention to your emotions and stick to the facts. Speak in a controlled tone and pace, and if you are making more than one point, make them separately and check for understanding. When engaging in a confrontational conversation or conflict, your goal is to understand the other person and find common ground to be able to accomplish your goal for the conversation. Once you have heard their perspective, Find common ground from which you can begin to work together and move forward. This can be a common understanding of the conflict, a common goal, shared values, mission focus, dedication to a client, or even a shared desire to strengthen your relationship moving forward. The most important thing is to find something in common and agree to start working from there. Coaching conversations are action-focused. Before you close the conversation, identify what the next steps are, when you will take them, and how you will be accountable. Be very specific and make sure these are very clear steps. Often, it is a simple agreement to meet later at a specific time to identify clear actions to take towards resolving the conflict. Just as important is to identify how you will keep each other accountable to this course of action. If the other person is unwilling to move forward with you, then you will have to move forward alone. Let the other person know what steps you will take and when they will happen. This is not about an ultimatum, but moving toward resolution. Conflict is costly to organizations and to individuals, so it must be dealt with effectively. Use inquiry-based coaching to engage in conflict. Make sure to do your homework on the situation, plan for your conversation, and rehearse. Be aware of the emotional charge of the conversation. Use active listening to understand, and find common ground to work from. In order to receive credit for attending this course, be sure to follow the instructions on the screen, or simply scan in the QR code on your screen to generate the email message for you. Be sure to include your Navy email address in the body of your email message if you are using a personal device. Thank you for watching this video. We hope that you gleaned useful and helpful information. If you have any questions, please contact your training civilian advocate or contact HQ's BD17 at NAVFAC HQ, Total Force Development at Navy.mil.